Hello, my friend. Today I want to talk about how to heal from narcissistic abuse. If there was a narcissist in your family or a partner or whatever it might be. First, for you to understand that I do have quite good insight in how the narcissistic mind works. And I was married 12 years to what they would consider a malignant narcissist. I have 3 kids with somebody, and there are some very interesting events that you experience with somebody like that. Went then on to into a relationship with somebody with BPD, borderline personality disorder, which also has strong overlap with narcissistic traits, and then was in a relationship with somebody that probably would be considered a covert narcissist. Now, when you realize that you end up in relationships like that, number one, you want to understand that you cannot heal from a place of anger. You can just heal from a place of understanding and love. That's number one. Number two, there's a reason why you ended up in the relationship. There's a good chance that you're very compassionate, empathic. But there's also a good chance that you're a people pleaser. And that is also something that you have to look into if you want to recover. So when you are unauthentic, just to please people, to get along with people, there's something to be explored. Yeah? So you have to learn to be comfortable with other people disagreeing with you, comfortable with people that might dislike you, and that's perfectly fine. What other people think or feel or do, and what they think about you is none of your business. So the only thing that you have to focus on, happiness and healing, is always an internal aspect. So next, the fact that you ended up in a relationship with a narcissist or somebody that falls in the black triad, there's a good chance that one of your parents had narcissistic traits or was a narcissist, and you made a perfect match for these people. That means that your central nervous system was trained throughout childhood to be a perfect match with these people. And only when you become aware of your pre-programming and of your reactions, your emotional reactions to people, can you then actually heal and override. When you acknowledge that and you get an understanding, initially the route is you start to go on the internet and you read books about, this was my journey and I've seen it with a lot of clients as well. You read about narcissism and things make sense or doesn't make sense because you're still trying to make sense out of their what they say, what they did. And this is what it narrows down to. A narcissist is somebody that is emotionally 3 years old. They don't love themselves, and they don't have the ability to distinguish between themselves and the people, their partner and their children. They are all an extension of themselves. So hence there's no empathy. So when they need something, they think that their children, their partner, have to provide them for it, and if they do not do that, then they get angry or whatever, start to manipulate. And ultimately, they don't have the ability to process their own emotions, so they have to project it onto others. And we'll get later to that because we all do it at times. So they have to externalize what they experience, their emotions. So they make you the villain, and they have to create an emotional reaction in you, so they can blame you instead of internalizing, realizing that they are the ones that are creating the emotional pain and the situation. So that being said, how do we heal? You have to realize that we all have narcissistic tendencies, so we all have an ego, and even if it be on a very wide spectrum, you'll realize that we all filter information out depending on an emotional state. So when we are in a negative emotional state, our rationale will change. It has to do with the amygdala, our limbic system, getting more active and basically cutting off or reducing the access to our prefrontal cortex, where executive thinking, long-term planning is, and so on, where we can attach meaning to situations to calm our limbic system. So we all fall into the category that our ego, the bigger our ego, the more we will filter out information, the more we will delete information, the more we will bend reality so it suits our perception of the world. So we all run around with a perception of our world, and we try to pull in the other people, making them realize, well, you don't see this the right way. You know, this is how it is. That's always our ego. So when you realize that there's nothing to explain to a narcissist, because the world that they are in today will be a different world that they're in tomorrow. So meaning that if they tell you, oh, what you're doing is wrong, and how dare are you, and it's in an advantage for them because it makes them look superior or better than you and make you the villain. The next day, same situation, they might do it exactly the same, or even the same day, but they will turn it and twist it in a way that it suits their ego. So you have to realize the person that you see today, an hour, days later, is never the same. They adapt the way it is. It's completely ego-driven. So their perception is their perception, and there's no way to penetrate their perception. So our own perception of the world, our wounded inner child, is protected by our ego. Only when you can penetrate and deplete your ego, remove your ego, can you actually heal your inner child. That's why you can just heal from narcissistic abuse with love, with self-love, and with exception, and detaching from the assumption what life should have been looked like and what they should be looking like, or that they should be see you the way you are. It's impossible. So you have to let go of that. Now, next thing, and this will trigger your ego, whenever somebody creates a negative emotion within you, it has nothing to do with the person. It's just learned behavior. So meaning the way you grew up, you attached meaning to situation, the way people should be, or what's right or what's wrong. You have to remove that. You have to realize that the people you're interacting with, whatever they do, a situation you are in life, when you're suffering, it's your own attachment to the meaning. And only when you let go of that can you end suffering. So when you realize that people are, we perceive people the way we are, not the way they are, then you realize that you can just let go of the narcissist when you let go out of the term, or use the narcissist is selfish. We are all selfish to some extent because we all want to please our ego. As long as you do that, you're not awakened, you're not realizing, you cannot unlock yourself. That means that unlocking yourself, or creating awareness, means that you become aware of your thoughts, you become aware of your feelings, you don't suppress feelings, you just start to feel them in the body. And then you start to go through the world and you just start to observe. oh, when I talk to that person, when that person does this or that, it creates that negative feeling on, I'm creating that myself. Let me let go of that perception, how that person should be, and just observe the person. Let me just observe myself. And this is where you can override and you really unlock your capacity. And you realize at some point that your mind really becomes bulletproof. And bulletproof is, you know, probably there's an attachment to the ego. It's like, oh, you think you're better than others. It's not from that. You're just different from others. You know, you're not better, you're not worse, you just are, you know. And at that point, your awareness, your consciousness increases, and you just observe people. You observe yourself, you know. When something hits you, when it is painful, just focus on the pain. You know, the monks say, like, the first arrow always hurts the most. So when somebody says something that is rude, considered rude, or is painful, or does something, or, you know, if you're in a relationship with a narcissist, probably that's the most challenging one. When they manipulate your children, when they lie in your face, you just observe. That's their perception. In their world, it's real, you know. And you cannot convince, you cannot push your world onto that. You're basically doing the same thing. You're trying to pull the narcissist in your world. It's not your job, and it's also not possible. The only thing that you can do is realizing, like, oh, this is my pre-program, this is my ego that doesn't want to let go of the pain. And when you start to observe and you stop attaching meaning what should be or could be, then you can be present and observe people or observe yourself. And suffering is then an option. You know? So it's deciding, do you want to suffer and be right? Or do you want to let go of everything and be in a peaceful mind? And that's where you really heal. That's the point where you really have healed from the narcissistic abuse, because what they do or don't do, it doesn't bother you anymore. You just observe, and you become compassionate. So for me, I just send love their way, and it's like, I'm really sorry you have to see the world that way, because they are in constant pain, and you know, it's not your job to awaken them, to heal their brain or something like that. That's an attachment as well. Everybody has to get to that point themselves. I hope you like this. If you're going through a very hard time in a relationship with a narcissist, I understand your pain. It is real. It is extremely challenging, extremely painful. But there is a awakening. Once you awaken, you will heal, and you can let go of it. And you really get to the point where they don't have any impact on your life anymore. You just observe, and you let them be. You know. I hope that you get to the point. It takes time, you know. Breathing exercises, meditation is very powerful, journaling is very powerful, and realizing that, you know, it's not your job to make them realize, or it's impossible to make them realize what is right or wrong, what is empathy, what is compassion. That's not your job anymore. Also, if you're in a relationship, I would suggest just to leave. And it will be challenging at first, but at some point when you do your inner work, you will find your match, your energetic match, and you know, I wish you to find somebody that that makes you happy. Ultimately, we're creating happiness in ourselves, but obviously it is always good to have somebody that has the ability to be self-aware and self-correct. So that's when you get into a relationship like that, it's remarkable. Take care, my friend.